Well, coffee's a fantastic start, isn't it? Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Super Thundercast.
First one of 2018.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
I don't know why I kind of was like, do I want to wish you a Happy New Year? Yeah, Happy New Year.
I don't.
Yeah, I want a happy year. That's you shit, man. We need a good year. Which is why, segue, we're starting this off talking about something we enjoy.
Yeah. Well, let's introduce ourselves.
Well, yeah,
first.
I'm Chris.
I'm Alex.
And you might have noticed, if you've listened to the last couple of episodes, we've focused on a specific genre or topic within gaming. And invariably, what happens is we end up talking about JRPGs. It just happens.
So we're just trying to put a leech on it and just get it out of our systems.
It's New Year, new us. It's a big purge. We're gonna do a JRPG episode and see if we can't just, take the whole JRPG discussion that we always have, drag it outside, drown it in a puddle.
It might be a two-parter.
Right.
That, or we embrace it and we just specifically talk about JRPG. Like, just embrace what we've always been and just talk about JRPGs only from now on.
Well, to be honest, more often than not, we have always got at least one of the fucking things on the go. And
It could be done.
It could feasibly work, but the reason we try and avoid talking about JRPGs is it's just taken you the best part of a year to finish Persona 5.
Yeah.
Al has finally finished Persona 5.
I finally finished it. I can now talk about it, with authority. Granted, I think you can talk about a game with authority, after about, 10 hours, usually. Some kind of authority, but no, I can talk with authority about Persona 5.
So, normally, your view on Persona 5 has been quite, I'd say, dim in comparison to the Personas, but you said the other day you had a hankering to go back and play it after you'd finished it. You're like, I'm jonesing for that game. Yeah, is that Stockholm Syndrome?
I think it is, because it's like you say, it was pretty much the only thing I've played last year, really. If I'm honest, it's the only thing that I've really, truly gotten into properly. I mean, Resident Evil 7 was one thing, but, 110 hours on Persona 5 over the year. I've got opinions. And very much, my opinion on it hasn't changed massively. It's still not the best Persona game. But it's still really fucking good.
Yeah.
It's still really, really good.
You can't really argue that it is a great game, but it's like I said in the Game of the Year thing. I really wanted it to be my Game of the Year, but there was so much stuff that was better than it. I mean, you're playing Horizon now, where you seem to be enamored.
I really love that game. We're going to end up talking about that at some point, because
I think we might end up doing an open world episode, just because imagine giving me a platform and a run up on Skyrim. I am going. You haven't heard us slate a game like you will hear me slate that. So that's coming up this year at some point. Anyway. We asked for some questions. We got one. It was a brutal question.
We got two.
Well, two.
Two, but one that really stood out. But
we'll get to that eventually.
We will.
We're talking your Japanese role-playing games.
Yeah.
Sit down, my little weeblets. Grown-ups are talking. That's the way I look at it.
And ironically, the people who we are calling weeblets are probably grown-ups.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so what makes a JRPG different from, presumably, a Western RPG or an RPG in general? What makes it, what do you think makes?
Well, a modern one, less DLC.
Less clothes.
Less clothes. It's got to be a borderline tit game in places. It's
generally.
It's weird. You can't quite put your finger on what makes a JRPG a JRPG, other than the fact that it's Japanese.
Yeah.
And when you're playing it, you feel like you're just indulging in all the other little Japanese things that you're obsessed with, like mad music, visuals that are off kilter at the best part, bits of story that you just sit there and go,
what?
Huh? Right, that's how I reckon I make the distinction. Western RPG.
Mm-hmm.
JRPGs as well tend to have either a science fiction or a high fantasy setting. You take a science fiction story from the West and it will either be a protracted episode of Star Trek or Star Wars. If you look at a Western fantasy RPG, originally it borrowed so much from stuff like Tolkien. Now it's kind of like, ooh, Game of Thrones. It's all a bit grim, whereas Japanese ones will kind of go, yeah, we see what you're inspired by. We're going to tell you a story that's absolutely batshit insane.
Yeah.
And the difference is the ancestors of the dev teams got nuked.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. That was what the thing boiled down to when I was at uni. I was reading a book about what changed the way science fiction worked from the West to the East. And that was the distinction the guy made, was they've lived through something that was, when you look at like films in the 50s and earlier, like the idea of atomic power was this big science fiction concept.
Yeah.
And it's like, they actually lived through something that, for the most part, informed a lot of science fiction.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, that's what's twisted it, which is why the stories tend to be a lot bleaker in places, but still have this really weird undercurrent of like hopefulness.
Yeah.
But they're all kind of, they take a very traditional story of bad guy wants to destroy the world for some reason. Very plucky guy with absolutely no horse in this race goes, hang the fuck on. Whereas for the most part, they don't ever tend to be like a chosen one. Sometimes it happens. But it's usually your protagonist is the helper of the chosen one, as opposed to being the all-conquering Commander Shepard, Dragon Boy.
Yeah. No, I can definitely see that. I think...
That's how I see it, anyway.
Well, the way that I usually look at like a JRPG in comparison to a Western RPG, I mean, taking all the stuff about setting aside, because I think you can have... Like, setting isn't necessarily a sticking point, because there's stuff like, I mean, for a good game or bad game, but Too Human kind of does that crossover of science fiction and fantasy that you get quite a lot of. And also there's like Knights of the Old Republic, which is also a cross between.
Do you think JRPGs do that more often?
I think JRPGs... And
do it more successfully?
I think JRPGs have a different way of designing a world. So they tend to look at... Like, a good example is stuff like Final Fantasy VII, where you've got this kind of... This world that borrows architecturally from a lot of Europe, but then has this kind of real kind of Japanese mid-90s anime kind of dystopia thing going through it. I mean, as well, that's another thing. There's always like a really good kind of... They always have this really interesting way of like technology is placed within those worlds. I mean, look at something like Final Fantasy VII, where it's essentially a game about saving the environment. Like, for the most part, like a big portion of that game is about taking down an evil corporation that wants to exploit the planet for profit. And yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it. But
basically an anti-fracking protest.
Yeah.
I really want to drive belts. Near where I work there's a big anti-fracking protest in Lancashire, and I really want to drive up there now and see if one of them has a gun for an hour.
Says yo.
Just drive up there. Which one of you is the leader of Avalanche? And just watch like still like Miriam, because it's going to be some posh woman called Miriam, but there's a boy here wearing 30 to 47 belts. He's got a really big sword and he says he can help. Just with like me. Hello.
But I think that's another, like, the place of your, but what you touched on it as well, like the placement of your character within that world is very different from a JRPG than a Western RPG. I mean, again, this is another completely different tangent, but it's interesting that you kind of split it between East and West, you know, that it's based on a geographical or cultural take on it. But yeah, like your placement in a JRPG was like you kind of slot into that world and you're kind of like a cog in that world until eventually at the point of disruption in the plot you able to take agency, or you and a group of people are able to take agency, whereas like you say in a lot of or in a few Western RPGs, like my experience of Western RPGs is very kind of low in comparison to yours. Like I think can only really talk about Fallout or the Elder Scrolls games or something like that. But that you tend to have a lot more onus placed on you as a lone person rather than you as part of a team of people.
I think Western RPGs have become a lot more isolated. Like you're saying, like the second you said like Fallout and the Elder Scrolls and stuff, the difference with those and most of like kind of like Western, like Kings of Amalur, Two Worlds, Fallout, Two Human, all of that sort of even things like Horizon, for example. There's still an RPG, but the difference is that party element.
Yeah.
Like, even stuff like Diablo kind of has it a little bit, but the last real Western kind of one that I can think of are your BioWare ones. It's
like Mass Effect and
Dragon Age, and
there's a really big emphasis on interacting with your party and a kind of cohesion between. But that's
BioWare and Obsidian make the party-driven ones. I always see that as being taken more from something like, especially like Baldur's Gate and stuff.
Yeah, it's very D&D, yeah.
Yeah, it's pulling directly from D&D because it's set in the same world. So it's kind of, they're more kind of, I think their inspirations come from different places. Because like the original, like, sort of Western role-playing game must, to that effect, be inspired by your pen and paper tabletop stuff and things like Conan and Tolkien and stuff like that. It must be the underpinning to it. Whereas the Japanese side of it, it's probably completely different.
Well, you got to look at like a really good example again is like the first Final Fantasy game, Final Fantasy 1. There's not much of a story or a plot or anything, but it is entirely essentially a D&D combat simulator with roles and that kind of thing, and that's all it was ever meant to be. Like, it was meant to be a way for you to play a traditional role-playing game by yourself, like a traditional tabletop role-playing game just by yourself without any of the fluff that a dungeon master puts in or someone who writes the quest puts in. But yeah, and then they all kind of evolved from there. And then, but that's the thing then, is that did JRPGs begin in the 80s with that kind of, with things like Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, where it was very much a kind of a way of playing a tabletop role-playing game by yourself, or did it happen when you start getting these story tropes and...
Well, the earliest JRPGs, like you're saying, like your early Dragon Quests and Final Fantasy and stuff, they were very fairy tale. It was, you're going to rescue this person, stop this evildoer kind of...
But again, they've
changed so much over the years, whereas I think they've changed so much, and they've gone, right, we can have, probably, as we talked about in the past, like Dragon Quest is still very, very traditional.
Yeah.
But... like you say, Final Fantasy kind of started off as a fantasy story and kind of pulls in sci-fi elements, pulls in elements from other areas, whereas...
Even in Final Fantasy 1, there's an element of that. Like, it gets all fucking cosmic on you. And it's like... Which, again, is very much a staple of D&D. Like, D&D gets the whole kind of thing where it's like you're going between dimensions and...
crazy gods and different pantheons fighting and stuff,
Yeah.
It's strange. It's like, I'm trying to put my finger on exactly what makes a JRPG, and...
I mean, if you want to talk mechanically, there are some very big mechanical differences.
Yeah, it's the combat systems. Because
it's not necessarily even just being turn-based. I mean, if you look at something like Fallout now, like recent Fallouts, they can be kind of turn-based.
Yeah, because of VATS and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like, do you know what I think it is?
What?
I think the difference between a JRPG and a Western RPG is a JRPG is just seemingly inherently looked at critically as just being more substantial. Like, even something like...
Really?
Yeah, I think you look at something like Fallout or Skyrim and people go, it's a game you can lose hours in. And, like, people seem to react to it like it's a new thing, but then there's the people who've been, like... There's people who've played, like, your old isometric ones and stuff, who may not necessarily... Like, there's people who have played Diablo, Baldur's Gate, probably even up to, like, Knights of the Old Republic. And there's, like, an entire generation of people who play role-playing games who have not touched any of that stuff and have only ever played kind of your big Bethesda open world, I am this one guy who becomes a walking army by the end of it kind of...
Yeah. I mean, that's something that's definitely been taking place over the last probably 15 years.
Yeah.
Western RPGs focus on, like, the lone hero. And, I mean, I think that's a take from just generally, like, Western culture. I mean, look at stuff like Westerns and that kind of stuff. It's about taming the landscape, it's about taming the world, it's about you becoming the master of your environment, whereas JRPGs are more about cooperation, especially between your characters, and more about preserving and finding a place in your world.
It's more about
thing.
JRPGs tend to be more about saving a thing as opposed to stopping a villain.
Yeah.
Stopping the villain's like the mechanical part of it, whereas in Western one, stopping the villain is the end goal.
Yeah.
It's kind of the way I look at it. There's so many ways you could look at this.
It really, yeah, there's loads of different ways you can look at it. And like, when by no means right on any single one of them, it's just, we're just kind of exploring it, really.
Mm.
And it's, because I'm sure for every example that we've given of a Western RPG that is like just the lone hero, there's 15 examples where it's not. Same with JRPGs, like Dark Souls is for all intents and purposes a Japanese-made role-playing game, and you're one person in that, and you are the chosen undead. But that's very weird because it's a Japanese role-playing game.
It's a subgenre of a
Western, like trying to be a Western role-playing game, but having these very Japanese elements or these very Eastern elements, I should say, in it through its story and ideas of reincarnation and that kind of thing.
That's a big topic. We've gone in heavy 2018. That's what we've done.
Stars we mean to go on.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've kind of talked a bit about what makes it. And it's like you said, it's on here. Is it just that it's made in Japan? It's like, well, it helps. But...
Well, Cosmic Star Heroine, that's a very recent JRPG. Well, it's not even a JRPG. It's not traditionally a JRPG because it's not made in Japan. But that was made, I think the guy who makes it's Taiwanese, I think. And it's an indie project that he just did by himself. And it's more like something like a Phantasy Star game. But he's big into his JRPG. I follow him on Twitter. He's a really good follow because he just kind of has loads of game design queries and questions, and you get to like kind of input on. And he's really friendly, and he'll talk back to you and everything. And he's got some very, very good ideas. Cosmic Star Heroine is a lot of fun as well. It's one that I keep needing to go back to.
It's kind of like, well, it's like, is it just that it's made in Japan? I don't necessarily think so,
No,
because
I don't think it is.
there's been a lot of, like, even the Penny Arcade games that they did, the Rain Slick Precipice ones,
Yeah.
they kind of had a lot of, granted they were very stripped back and very simplified, but they borrowed heavily from really old JRPGs and the way they were set out, especially Rain Slick Precipice 3, that's all 8-bit and sprite-driven, and it's kind of...
Well, look at the South Park games.
Yeah.
They're turn-based, aren't they?
Yeah,
well,
but
the first one is, anyway.
The second one's much more turn-based, but is also kind of... It kind of borrows on, like, JRPG stuff, and it takes the piss out of JRPGs in different places as well. But
well, it's a South Park game, nothing is safe, is it?
it's almost... It's like... So
Child of Light?
Yeah, Child of Light is a very JRPG thing. But it's that thing, it's like they've got, like we've said on my notes that I've got in front of me, they've got like big staples to them. They're the things that they kind of live and die by.
Yeah.
So it's a combat system that maybe does something a little bit different to normal.
Yeah.
Characters, which they're important in any game, but it's the setting I think is also really important as well. Like I think Xenoblade as a game, the new one, would die on its arse if all the rest wasn't such an engaging place to be.
Yeah. I think that's definitely a big thing with like say with any game, but something that takes a JRPG from being a good game to being a great game is having like a cast of characters that I really engage with, like really truly, like Persona 5 for example. I talked to Chris I talked his ear off really over text just about how good Futaba is as a character in that game, and it's like, I don't think, if she wasn't in that game, I don't think I would have liked it, because the way that everything about her, everything to do with that character and the time that you spend with that character, it just kind of, because she comes in and she's such, like, she's so reclusive and so kind of quiet, and by the end of it, you can't shut her up. And she's like, she just kind of becomes your little sister, essentially.
She underpins what the protagonist goes through as well, because she's been fucked over by the exact same people. She's gone through very similar sort of hardship. She's gone through, when you actually look at her story arc, she's gone through a very traditional JRPG heroine story arc. But just your protagonist arc, it's like, someone's been killed, I've retreated into myself a bit. I meet a group of people that pull me out. I was like, that is Final Fantasy 7 and 8, isn't it?
Pretty much.
it's that thing where it's kind of that's the thing though. You've got much more development in terms of character, and that development's gradual. It's not prompted by a side quest.
Yeah,
that's probably the thing. It's like there's less kind of objective based stuff. It's more,
it's not necessarily like go and find them. Even though there are definitely elements of go find that MacGuffin and give that MacGuffin to someone else in JRPGs. It's not like those Bethesda RPGs where it's like you've got a million points on the map and near enough every side quest is go find this thing, bring it back to this other guy, and he'll give you some money for it. It's not quite as clinical as that. There's a lot more that goes around it, and a lot of people will say it's just bump and it doesn't really mean a whole lot and it's just meaningless dialogue. But that's the difference between a good JRPG or a JRPG and a great JRPG, is when that dialogue is important and when you really care about what that character gets out of it. Like you were saying about Xenoblade 2, there's loads of these little like side missions with the different blades and stuff that are very kind of poignant, and it like kind of adds that extra kind of layer that makes you care about it a bit more.
Yeah, the whole idea is because you've got your drivers who are just humans who can equip a blade, and the blades who are these immortal characters that, but they're immortal in a really fucked up, flawed way. And it's kind of those side missions kind of not humanise them, but create like an air of sympathy around them, which just makes them a lot more engaging. And it's the other thing I really like is when you play through that game and you unlock blades, for all the rare ones you unlock, you can finish the game probably not unlock all of them.
Yeah.
And that gives you this kind of really strange interplay between it, because it's like you could play that game a couple of different times and have completely different setups of blades based on who you've unlocked. Because it's like, if I played through it now and I didn't have Electra and I can't remember what his name is, but he's like a big ball. He's a big fat rabbit thing, but he's just a big mouth with a little head. And if I didn't have him and Electra, I'd have to completely rethink how I used one character, because that's their blades. That's who I've used throughout the game with them and set them up right. Like, the big ball thing is broken because every time he deals damage to something, because I've done so much of his side quest, which is all based on feeding him food, different foods, every time he deals damage to stuff, he heals my party. Well, so it's like you set him up as your main blade and you're unkillable.
Do you think that's a big thing that makes a JRPG a JRPG, is these
mechanical abuse?
Well, yeah, these systems that you kind of encourage to exploit. Like I think that's the safest way of putting it. Because I mean, like a good example, Final Fantasy VIII. Like that system is broken unbelievably. I mean, Final Fantasy VII is another one. Like if you have your materia set up in a certain way, it's like you can have it so that every time you're hit, you cast Ultima 4 times. It's broken. It's like, but I think that's part of the thing about a JRPG. Like Dragon Quest does it in a very fun way as well, where your attacks, like, and different things your characters do, like you kind of figure out the most efficient way of beating enemies, and that's like the micro game within the big game of like.
Yeah,
I think that's something that JRPGs do quite a bit, as well as they have that like micro game of how am I going to break this game, and
yeah, it's like
it doesn't feel quite as unearned as in a Western RPG where it's like I just equip like a really big sword or something
I
like that.
equip best gun and get a headshot because it's first person for the most part now.
Yeah,
it's kind of.
I mean, not that
wrong
that's
with
a bad
that,
thing, but it's just a different way of doing it.
I mean, I just like role playing games in general, but I think I just prefer JRPGs because they feel a bit. A really good JRPG feels like you like that feeling when you've got a really good long book.
Yeah,
and you just sat there and it's kind of like, can't wait to read a bit more of a book.
Yeah,
can't wait to just chill out, switch off from everything else, and just immerse myself in this book.
Yeah,
JRPGs feel like that to me, whereas Western ones feel like a really good film or a really good TV show. It's something that you're not as like. You don't have to focus as much. You can just kind of take it in a bit. Like playing something like Mass Effect in comparison to playing something like Dragon Quest VIII. Both amazing. Both really immersive. But I'm not as immersed in something like Mass Effect because it's not got the mechanics around it are much more kind of traditional shootery. You know what I mean? Like, they've got that thing to them where it's kind of, I'm not having to sit and invest as much attention in it. I want to still pay attention.
Yeah.
But I'm just paying attention to what's in front of me. Whereas with a JRPG, you're going, right, I'm in this fight. I've got this, and this to kill. What's the most efficient way of doing that? Does that mean that once this fight's over, I've got to do something else to prepare me for the next bit? And it's kind of like you're always kind of having to think 1 or 2 steps ahead of as well as what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're a bit more... There's a couple of different kind of puzzles, essentially, going on at the same time.
In a good JRPG, I mean, Persona 5 I'll use Persona 5 again as an example, but like going through your dungeons on that, you've got the mechanics of the fight that you've just gone into. How am I going to exploit the weaknesses of those enemies to beat them really quickly or without taking any damage? Because the real test of getting through a dungeon is getting from one save point to the other without having to leave to start at the last save room.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can I efficiently get through this by maintaining my health and maintaining kind of mainly in that game, your SP level, because if they run out of that, you can't do fuck all. So it's like, but then you've also got the mechanic of picking up the other personas while you're doing it and making sure that you're keeping your personas leveled to a certain, like keeping your personas leveled up, and if they've reached their maximum, exchanging them for other ones. And
there's like a degree of curve to it, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a lot going into it, and it's like, I mean, I think I prefer JRPGs, but I'll admit it's because I'm a weirdo. I like the design of a lot of Japanese RPGs. I like the world building. I like the worlds that they play about in. Like, I think that's a big thing. Like, I'm very much driven by things on the surface, and it's like, because things like The Witcher 3, I love The Witcher 3, I really do, but it took me a while to like really kind of like that game, because the world felt, while it was an amazing world to be in, it felt a lot like a lot of other RPGs. It felt a lot like Dragon Age in places. Like the world did. I'm not saying it was.
It was massive, and there was lots. But I suppose the difference is stuff like Dragon Age, and like, this is a critique of kind of later BioWare stuff. Is they've gone, here's this big world to run around in. By the way, fuck all in it.
Which wasn't the problem in The Witcher.
The Witcher basically went, here's this massive world, and it's almost like it goes. It kind of has that Ubisoft thing where he goes, here's a big map, here's all the points you can go and look at. It's like, great, but instead of me having to go up and climb something to get all these revealed on the map, you have just covered a map in question marks.
Yeah.
And that's me going, oh crap, what are all these?
Yeah.
And whilst it's a stunning, like top 10 stunning, lovely, one of my all-time favourite games, there's a more gentle reveal of what's going on around you in a JRPG.
Yeah.
And I think that's better from a storytelling point of view.
Yeah.
And
it's got its own set of problems, though, because I mean,
because they can be so slow and hard to engage with at the beginning.
Well, there's that, and it's also not very clear that you like when you can and can't do certain things. Like there are certain things in, like, I don't know, trying to think of an example, but there are certain times when you'll get to a certain story point and you can't go back. Like certain side quests or certain things that you
fights you're meant to lose.
Yeah,
that's my biggest bugbear.
That's a big thing in JRPG. I hate when that kind of thing isn't signposted well. That should basically come down to a thing of like, saying that though,
don't make me play a fight I'm supposed to use. Don't make me play a fight I'm meant to lose and then not tell me I'm supposed to lose it. Because if I go into that fight like, I need to kick the shit out of this thing, and I end up using loads of resources and items and all sorts of stuff, and I'm supposed to lose the fight, and I've kept this thing ticking along for like an hour or something, and I'm supposed to lose it, don't then take all the shit I've used off me. You know what I mean? It's like...
Yeah.
You're being punished for trying to play the game because it's badly signposted stuff. Like,
yeah.
That really acts me off. Like, I think Lost Odyssey does that at one point. There's a fight you're supposed to lose, and I kept the fight going.
Xenoblade does it a lot.
Fight I was supposed to lose, it kept it going for about an hour. The new Xenoblade tends to do it where it's a fight that there's not supposed to be a winner of. It's just a case of either lasting a certain amount of time or getting someone's health down. Like, there's a load of bits where you fight two guys at the same time. And it's like, one of them's meant to be the main villain, and the other one's kind of the other main villain. It's like two main villains. And the best way I've found to deal with that is just dogpile one of them up for the best.
I mean, the thing is as well, like, there are things that happen in JRPGs mechanically that are very irritating. Like, very, very irritating. Like, look at Xenoblade. Perfect example. Final Fantasy 13 does this as well, actually. They will reveal a mechanic 40 hours in. And not that it'll change anything, but like it'll be like a tutorial fight and you've got to do it like 3 times. And it's like, if I skip one piece of dialogue or like one thing, I don't know what the fuck it is I'm doing. Yeah. And it's like, you just guessing then. I mean, that happened a couple of times in Xenoblade X. Final Fantasy 13 did it 40 odd hours in. Where they just say, this is a new thing that you're supposed to be doing. It's like, what? I've been playing it for 40 fucking hours. Why am I still getting tutorials? I mean, I think that's when a JRPG gets it wrong, is when it's piling mechanic on top of mechanic on top of mechanic, and you're supposed to keep track of it.
Do you think that's because JRPGs traditionally are on the longer side, games-wise, and they've got a story or what they're trying to get across doesn't necessarily facilitate needing all that time, so they go, let's stick another mechanic in?
I think that can happen. I think
like Final Fantasy 13, it should have, like, everyone says it's like food poisoning because it gets better after 24 hours. Because you've got that first bit and then it opens up and it's more traditional.
Yeah.
But it's like everyone was saying, you could probably have condensed most of that first bit. It's essentially just fucking corridor after corridor. It's running in a straight line, having some random fights.
Yeah, running from one cutscene to another cutscene.
Cut that down by half and get people on a grand pulse earlier. I mean, you could probably cut 20 hours out of that game in terms of running in a line.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly a thing, and I think there is definitely something to be said that if you're expected to be playing a game for nearly 100 hours and you've pretty much done everything you can do in terms of like learning the intricacies of a battle system by 20 hours, then that's not very good.
Unless you're about to throw a motherfucker of a plot twist at me or change something mechanically in terms of not how the game plays, but like Dragon Quest does it quite a lot, where they'll go, right, you've been playing for hours upon hours with your party in these defined roles and all this stuff. Here's a cathedral where you can go change your jobs.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
But that's the sign that that's a good JRPG.
But it's optional as well.
Yeah. It's like, if you want to just carry on being a level 1, I can't remember what they call it, like in Dragon Quest, when like the standard class.
Yeah, because you've got your standard like fighter, mage, wizard, thief. Then you get things like monk, paladin.
Yeah, but it's like you can carry on playing it in that way, or you can. I mean, that's something that people do with Final Fantasy 1 all the time, because you can pick your
there's the job system, isn't it?
You pick your party makeup at the beginning of the game. You get people to, like, I've seen people do like runs of like 4 white mages and stuff like that, which is painful to do, I imagine, but it's the fact you can still do that. And I think like a good JRPG has these things that make the battle system fun and interesting throughout without suddenly springing new mechanics onto you. I mean, look at
Bravely Default was amazing for that, thinking about it.
What, just
Bravely Second, like the way they did the job system.
Yeah, great.
And there was the masteries and stuff, and you could pick and choose some bits, and it all tied into a mechanic, but you had the set mechanic at the beginning of the game, and all that happened was you unlocked new professions based on the bosses you beat, and Bravely Second did it where you basically run through the game twice, and your second run is you just basically picking up the jobs that you didn't have beforehand.
Yeah.
And you can go into that last section of that game with everything on level 100, and you're so broken, because level 100 goes, right, you can use all the abilities assigned to that job pretty much willy-nilly.
Yeah.
Right. You can break that game by comboing certain sets of jobs together, and it's, like we were saying before, those systems that can be abused, but it's being abused within a game setting where it's still engaging. It's not like you're just going through the motions. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
The second time I played Bravely Second through after it fucked me, I did break the game deliberately to speed it up.
Well, but that's something that you can do.
Yeah.
I mean, look at one that I really do think is a good example of doing that kind of thing, where the fun of the game, or the mechanical fun of the game, is probably something like my memory is terrible today. No, it's the Persona games, because I mean, making your personas and the makeup of the main character's persona and how that supports the team of your chosen characters is kind of the ultimate fun in that game.
You can fill any gap. It's kind of...
And it's if you want to have, I don't know, someone who's really good with physical attacks, two really strong magic users, you can take up the role of a healer and that's kind of thing.
That's meant to be the optimum run through Persona 3, isn't it? Because your healers in that, like Yukari, is a moron. So you ditch any healing character, take all damage, and you heal.
That's what I ended up doing in the end. Was if Persona 3 was just kind of use myself as the main character, use myself as the healer, because everyone else in the original one, they never took orders. They had their own minds, and it was really shit.
This one was the best one, because it just giving you the ability to control everyone.
Yeah.
Just made the game so much better.
Yeah.
Right. Let's look at some of these questions. We'll leave that one for a bit.
Yeah, that one looks like a good one.
Favourite battle system in a JRPG? And this ties into a point I've written down at the bottom. What's better, turn-based or running around like a twat? Personally, I think it depends on the game. Because I love the combat system in Xenoblade 2 anyway. But at the same time, I'm a big fan of trolling through menus, finding the best way to kick someone's head in.
If we're talking about just the actual way of thinking about a fight, I'm very, very comfortable with Dragon Quest's very traditional way of doing it, where it is, you've got a very specific role. Everyone has their own role. They can only do certain abilities. And, it's just your traditional turn-based thing. But by the time you finish a Dragon Quest game, you've got things that you do instead of regular attack. If you've got a fighter, I remember Dragon Quest 8, there was a move called, I think it was Dragon Slash or Falcon Slash.
Falcon Slash is the one that goes in super quick.
No, it's the one that does two attacks at once.
Is that Falcon Slash?
I can't remember. Either way, it didn't take up any MP. It was essentially just a different way to attack, but it was attacking twice a turn.
Yeah.
It was, it was something as simple as that. But I think that says something about that game, because something as simple as that really changed the way that you thought about how you fight. And you got an item as well. There was an item in Dragon Quest 8 that you just incidentally find towards the end of the game in a pot somewhere, where unlimited 100 HP heals. You just select that, use it every turn, 100 HP heal. And that was another thing. It's it eliminated using Jessica's magic. You can start being a bit more offensive with her and stuff like that. And I really like that game. I mean, there's loads of ways of doing it. I'm always interested in the Atelier games as well, because it's all based on consumable items and mixing items.
I've never played one of the Atelier games. I played Manacamia, but
the first three were... Well, the first one was the only one I finished, and it was really, really good. The story wasn't great. The characters were fun, and the battle system was very interesting, because it was all about collecting consumables and mixing them in the fight to kind of create bombs and stuff like that for the enemy. It was really fun. But it was ultimately undone by the fact that they turned into tit games.
Way with a lot of JRPGs when you think about it.
I mean, that's the worst thing about JRPGs.
Yeah. There you are. Criminally underrated battle system in games.
Yeah.
The Tales style one where you've kind of got...
Yeah.
It becomes almost a bit like a brawler.
Yeah, and you can assign different attacks to
Different buttons and stuff.
and things. That's a good one. I do.
But I loved the variant on that they had in Eternal Sonata.
Yeah,
I thought was so good. Where it was all because it was kind of it was turn based, but it was turn based in the sense that you had. It basically went your turn, run at someone like it's a Tails game, and you had like combo meters and stuff. That if you built them up to a point, someone's moves got stronger, and it was kind of that was so open to abuse, but at the same time, it was so fun and so engaging to do. And I think that actually, yeah, fuck it. Eternal Sonata's combat system is probably my favourite combat system in the game.
It's a good one. It's a good one. I liked.
It's probably my favourite one, but like I said, I am a stickler for kind of like the traditional menu stuff. But Eternal Sonatas is nice, and I fucking love Bravely Seconds as well.
I think Bravely Default has an incredible little twist on the traditional
turn-based mechanics.
Yeah, it's really fun. Like it puts it because they do it in that demo for Octopath Traveler as well, don't they? It's like kind of becoming that studio's staple of like how they
manipulate the way you can attack.
Yeah, it's just really good, really really good. There's a lot of them where it's not so much the battle system that's good, but it's like the character building that's good. I think Persona is kind of like the ultimate version of that, because not only do you build your main character, but but everything is kind of mechanically always kind of tied to the story and because everything you do in that game is about building your character essentially, like making him a fully fleshed person. And through the relationships he has with other people, through what he chooses to do with his spare time and that kind of stuff. And it's very, it's just kind of like the ultimate tying together of the package, I think, in the Persona games.
Yeah.
As well, there's stuff like the older Shin Megami Tensei games, where it was more of a strategy RPG. I've never really gotten on with strategy RPGs. But part of me really wants to.
Have you ever played the Shadow Hearts?
No, I've got the first one, but I've not played it.
Their combat system works on like a ring sort of system, and you've got when you're running in, you've got it's like a little sweet spot on this ring that if you hit that, that's like your critical hit almost. Yeah. You've got like your hit areas, and you can, in the second one at least, you can modify that ring. So you've got if you hit here, you do double damage. If you hit here, you do this. And there's a trick to that game, which is. It stands out in my mind as probably the most broken JRPG thing you can do. There's an item you can get that if you attach it to the main character's hit ring, if you land it in this area, he will just do a punch that lands 1 damage. But then he'll hit you again, do 1 damage. And he'll hit you again and do 1 damage. And it just constant hits.
Yeah.
With 100% accuracy, but no power behind them.
Yeah.
And you can do that on the last boss. And there was a way of people doing the last boss was just get Yuri to land this hit, then go make a break. Go do something else. Come back 20 minutes later, and he's literally beaten the final boss of the game to death
with 1 hit,
1 health point at a time. And he's just constantly he basically just runs up and starts hitting him, and it's just like a consistent thud, 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 thud. And it's broken, but it's fun, but. That's the one redeeming feature of the ring system. It's kind of beyond that. It's just you've turned your combat into a quick time game.
Yeah, well, there's some absolutely diabolical ones. What was the name of that one on the PlayStation? Was it Unlimited Saga?
With the fucking
where it was just random
rollers. And it
was just completely fucking random, and it's I think I traded that in straight away.
What I meant, the one with the really nice box
art. Lovely box. It's like
big
crimson red box.
Yeah, on it. It was beautiful.
And you looked at the art and you're like,
in Game Station, that thing, every other week it was back in the pre-order section, and it was you'd be going in going, someone else has got it. One of my mates got it, and we sat at his house. We went into town first thing in the morning, went into Game Station. He picked up Unlimited Saga. He was like, "This looks a bit interesting. I'm going to get this." And he scuttles off home, and I go over to his house with him, and we're sat there, and he puts it on, and we start playing it, and we're sat there going, "What the fuck is this?" And it was literally just the whole time going, this isn't a JRPG system. You don't think we'd been playing at the time we'd been playing 10. So foolishly, we were like, we have reached the pinnacle of gaming. The sphere grid is upon us, ladies and gentlemen. And it was like, that's what we were dabbling in at the time. And then this came out, and we sat there playing it going, this is fucking pish.
Oh, there's a lot of them like that. I mean, Final Fantasy 12 was a really fucking poor one, if you ask me. Where it's like...
It's like an MMO.
Well, you've got to get the license for a weapon before you can use it. And only then you can use that weapon. But isn't there also then that you've developed the characters separately? And you kind of develop their... almost like their specialisation separately. So you could theoretically, you could really fuck yourself by going, I really like axes, but I want my healer to have an axe. And it's like, you've not picked the right weapon there, but you've spent all your money getting the license for an axe. And...
It's like when everybody went through 10 the first time and got to that second Seymour fight and got twatted. Because the rest of the game, up until that point, you can kind of brute force your way through.
Yeah.
But if you've not gone around that sphere grid properly and actually followed what looks like a proper route, you've completely goosed your characters, because the whole point is they all fall... 10 more than any of them, they fall into clear, distinct roles.
Very clear. I mean...
Other than Kamari, who's a waste of time.
The point of Kamari is you can double up on a role. And he won't do it quite as good as the other person, but he's alright. I think Kamari was kind of like, what do we do?
We need a character that's going to be visually interesting.
We need a character that can do jump, because it has to be in every Final Fantasy game.
But we can't give you a really cool Dragoon. Catman. Do a Catman.
Like a Catman.
We've not done a Catman. We've not done a proper cat in a while. The last one we did was like a weird tiger with a Mohican. And we've got the shit hair quote and dealt with Waka.
Just shit character. Like, we've got a question coming up later on, and Waka appears in a list. We'll put it that way.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh! Right then. Right, well. The next question is the weirdest JRPG tropes, which I suppose ties into the future of the JRPG. What do we want to see more of? What do we want to see less of? See what I want to see less of? Fucking anime tier perv characters. You know, the ones that, like, there was literally...
The ones that are clearly children.
No, there was... yeah, well, there's that whole bit. Where, like, remember when I got Final Fantasy IV on the DS? And there's the book. And you go through it, and it's like trying to tell you, based off the bit of character art, that Rydia's like 14, and you're like, no, she's not.
She ain't 14.
You've really crossed all of the lines here, Squeenix. Like, all of them. And it's like, it's that kind of weird sort of fetishy look at people, like certain characters. Like, it's really fucking annoying in Xenoblade how much of the time is spent going, oh, this character's walked in the room, and there are the tits.
Well, no, it should be character's tits have walked into the room.
Oh, there's the rest.
There's the rest.
But it's like, you've got, like, there's a bit where it's like you've got the pervy character who's like your lecherous old man.
Yeah.
In Xenoblade 2, it is the little, I can't remember what the hell his name is off the top of my head.
Little Pon, is it Pons?
There's a little, the little...
Pon or whatever.
Yeah, you know the guys I mean?
Yeah.
The bunny dudes.
Is that what they're called? Pon-Pons?
Tora, that's his name.
Yeah.
He's like a mechanic that you get with you. And he has an artificial blade that he's made himself, who's called Poppy. Poppy?
Only guess. It's just a giant tit.
No, Poppy is Poppy's a little robot who's spun off from the plans of his dad and granddad.
This isn't one of those weird family...
No, right. When you meet his dad later on, his dad's got a robot that he made who's dressed like a maid.
Well...
Poppy is dressed as like a weird little Girl Scout because she's like the little one. Poppy gets an upgraded form called Poppy QT. And the Poppy QT form is taller, has robot boobs, and is like a schoolgirl. And then the third form, which I'm trying to unlock, is called the Poppy QT, and the pie symbol. She's called Cutie Pie. Fuck this game. And
I was going to say that's pretty clever.
But apparently she's wearing like a fucking swimsuit, but Tora, at different points, gets yelled at by the other female tit game characters because they go like, we found, it's like, we need to make Poppy some clothes because she's just got her armour. He goes, Poppy's got plenty of clothes. She starts talking. He calls her Master the entire time.
But she calls him Master.
Master the entire time. She goes,
Fuck me.
Master Pond may be my special winter armour. It's a fucking bunny suit. And it's things like that. It's like, she's in maid mode and stuff like that. She does like weird sexy dances and things. And it's just like, this is creepy on a whole new fucking level.
It's like, part of me wants to think it's like it's tongue-in-cheek and they're doing it knowingly, but there is
it's that kind of winking anime kind of... He's literally, if you were going to... He's like...
It's the equivalent.
It's like Master Roshi and fucking every pervy character... like the fucking weird pig thing from Dragon Ball. Just like every weird pervy character in every weird fucking anime ends up in a JRPG somewhere, and there's always... It's the nosebleed, like, troll is the only thing missing. And you just
it's gonna happen.
I hate it. It fucking happens in Persona 5.
Yeah, it does actually.
Ryuji gets a nosebleed at the beach. Odd, clatty shit in games. That's what it is. That's what I don't want. That's what I want to die out from a JRPG.
I want...
And fucking weird, skimpy outfits. No. It's like... Everyone online kicks off about West Africa's going fucking armoured bikinis.
Censored.
Fucking armoured bikini kind of stuff. Kicking off. Yeah, we're being censored. There's a reason you're being censored. It's fucking weird. It's like...
It's just...
It's a game about teenagers going into space fighting evil.
I mean, I have this kind of thing. It's like...
Put some pants on.
If I'm embarrassed to let my parents see me play a video game, frankly... There's something wrong with that.
If a character is introduced and the first words out of my mouth are, oh, for fuck's sake, which is what keeps happening every time I play Xenoblade. My missus walked in the other day going, me playing that game went, hang on, are you playing a tit game? And I looked at her like, who's told you of tit games? And it was like...
She's gone, Chris, you're talking about JRPGs. Of course you're talking about tit games.
But there's always weird fucking... It's like carry-on tier sex jokes, isn't it? It's like...
But that's what makes me think sometimes that a lot of it is inoffensive. It's when it is like the clearly underage... I mean, we've talked about this before, like amongst our friends and everything. It's when it's the clearly inappropriate underage characters that it's like... that's when I kind of tap out of it, and I'm like, no, that's not alright.
Yeah, it's like no amount of localization's fixing that even.
No, and it's like with fucking Xenoblade, like saying, it's like I can handle booby characters, I can handle that kind of thing.
There's a weird blue frozen ice tit rabbit woman.
I've seen it, and granted, I'd be embarrassed if Becky saw me playing it, but I don't think
I can't even put her in my party. Can't even use her. Do you know why you can't use her? Do you know what's really fucking weird about this
game? She's a distraction.
No, it's not that she's a distraction. It's just fucking odd. Because when you're talking in a conversation and she's in the background, it's like dead or alive. They're moving independent from her body. Every time she talks, they move.
They're like going one way and the other way.
It's like watching the top of a lake. It's just they're both moving of their own accord. And you're sort of sat there going, who fucking programmed that in? It's like, how isolated from the world are some devs that they sit there and go, boys, I've got it. I've animated how boobs work. And everyone else is sat in a room going, he doesn't have a fucking Scooby-Doo, does he? Look at...
It's like
why is that one going up and down and that one going left and right?
Like it reminds me of the bit in a new episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine where Captain Holt is pretending to be straight. And he's saying, every time he's referring to a woman, he's talking about her boobs and how they're heavy, and how that's a good thing. And it's like just the most unbelievable kind of, like, would never even fucking occur to you. It's like, as someone who loves animation, and these people are supposedly animators, how does that kind of compute that boobs work that way?
It's the weird fucking pervy characters, and they always tend to be some form of squeaky animal, which is the other thing, like Tora, fucking Kite Sith, a bit of a perv.
No, he's not too.
One of them is.
Yeah, he's a little. I think he's a little bit, but I can't remember.
The
It's
fucking
very
King,
tame.
King
It's not
Trode
as
is
bad
a
as Final
bird.
Fantasy VI, where the octopus is almost definitely a sex pest.
The octopus is a sex pest.
Yeah.
He's a sex pest in every game he appears in.
Yeah.
The Dragon Quest games are awful for it, because it's just literally, you can buy sexy clothes for female characters. Jessica as a character I have a massive problem with, because one of her skills is sexiness, and you're like,
Don't you mean two massive problems?
get out. It's that thing where it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like, you're trying to tell like some big dramatic story, and it don't work. It's just a complete disconnect in between what they're classing as being comedic and like kind of. I suppose it takes a lot from like your Japanese kind of mantai humour, though, isn't it? It's very kind of like, oh, my mother-in-law sort of double acty kind of jokes and old school kind of humour, but it's like it don't translate well, and it can completely pull you out of a game.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to say anything about the tit games until you brought it up. But yeah,
right, go on then. What's your weirdest trope then? If you're
talking about things we didn't want to see in them anymore.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like your weirdest tropes and that. Like my weirdest trope is your pervy animal character leading into the realms of your weird tit game stuff.
No, I thought it was things we didn't want to see because it's like.
What do you want to see? What don't you want to see anymore in JRPGs?
Dungeons that are very ill-advised and too long.
I love how yours is like. Mine's a gameplay point. Chris is on the moral high ground.
Chris is the guy talking about how he doesn't like tits. It's like,
whoa! I never at any point said that. So, what do you want to see more of? I want to see more crime and punishment in games for like that kind of shit.
You want a U-Tree edition of every game where if you take the creepy road consumption,
I want the opportunity to have your pervy animal character killed and mounted somewhere. That's what I want. I wanted Maro's head on a fucking wall in Blue Dragon. That's what I wanted. See, now I'm just thinking about one of the other questions, and I'm like, I've just thrown Blue Dragon into the mix on it.
What are you talking about? We'll
get to it in a sec.
I would like to see, and again, I'm probably harping on about this because I've only just finished it, but I would like to see more dungeons that actually are about character development. Like that. Like I was saying to you a while ago, again, mentioning Futaba again, but her dungeon in Persona 5 is unfucking believable because it is just about
her backstory.
And it doesn't feel like a chore at any point. Whereas you get to some dungeons in that game, it's just like, this guy was a bit bad. You know what he did? He treated his workers like he didn't care about them. And that's naughty.
He was a bad boss.
He was a bad boss. And yeah, he was pretty evil, yeah. But it's like...
But it was like...
I didn't care.
Billionaire has shitty business practices.
Yeah.
Isn't the same as recluse coming to terms with the death of a parent.
Yeah,
which is
exactly. And that was so fucking good. And it was like, I can remember the end of that, like that entire like epic fight bit. And it was like, fucking hell. Get me right in the fucking feelings here. I wasn't expecting this. And yeah, it was very good. And it's like same with Persona 4. I mean, Persona 4, like, you go and do each one of your party characters' dungeons and you learn a lot about what motivates that character.
And then you've got a couple where it's just like you're trying to save someone
else. Yeah, and they're always the worst ones.
Do you think the best dungeon in Persona 4, though, to me, was the one after the reveal of who the killer is, and you're going through their dungeon? Because...
Yeah,
you know the one I mean?
Persona 4,
Persona 4, because I was going through that dungeon on a mission. It wasn't a case of... It wasn't, yes, there's a degree of I'm trying to save someone, but it was, this motherfucker's about to get his head kicked in.
Yeah.
And because you find it all out...
There's that very real sense of betrayal, though, in that.
And there's the whole thing with your cousin and stuff, and it's like, right, you are about to get leathered.
Yeah, exactly. It's like... those games understand, or they seem to understand until Persona 5, that they're wringing every bit of character development out of everything, and it's magic. It's absolute magic in Persona 4. Persona 3 not so much, because you didn't really have that. But Persona 4, it is definitely the reason why it is better than Persona 5. But,
I remember when we both got up to that bit on Persona 4, and we were sat in a cafe in town, and it was you, me, and one of our friends that all got up to it about the same time, and we were all like, this son of a bitch. I'm tempted to not go to uni today. And we go, he wants to pull this shit on me. He wants to hit me where I live. And we were like, not today. And it was like, we fucked uni off. I went home going, no, I'm doing that dungeon. And I went home. It was like, degree be damned. Not on my watch. It was like...
but I would like to see that kind of thing where rather than it just being shitty cave in a mountain and some boss that doesn't matter.
Here's a dungeon that involves putting water in certain places.
Yeah, like I would much prefer to see them kind of use the dungeons in a way that doesn't usually, in a way that is kind of good for pacing and doesn't make it feel like the game's pissing your time away. Because that's a really big problem with JRPGs, and it's especially a big problem with the Xeno games anyway. Because it was the same with fucking Xenosaga. And Xenosaga 2 anyway, where you went through these really long dungeons and these really big things, and you came out the end of the dungeon and no one had grown other than their character level. Yeah. And it's like, it's just it just feels very pointless.
Like character growth and power level are not the same thing, and they should never be inextricably linked.
Not.
Right. So we've gone through that. Right, we're on the big one now. This was the question that has had us racking my brains for a week.
I still don't think I've got it sorted. You go first.
Your favourite 4-man party drawing characters from any JRPG. I've had to do it from all turn-based ones, because in my head I was going, can't put a character from a Tales game in with Final Fantasy people. They play completely differently.
You can.
You can't. That's how I've not done it like that.
You've not done it. I was just doing it with characters I like.
Well, yeah, I've done it with characters I like, but I was kind of sat there going, it makes sure that they'd all work in sync to a degree. But it's like, I know you've all been going like,
for fuck's sake.
No, that's just me.
You've ruined it now.
No, you can pull in any character, but can you think of any character from a Tales game or a Xeno game or stuff like Eternal Sonata or any of those sort of games where you've not got that traditional combat system, where you'd put them in an ideal lineup of a character party? Because I sure as shit can't.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because mine is, if I can just open up my phone for a second, my list is Frog from Chrono Trigger.
Good choice. Good fighter.
Adia from Bravely Second.
Again, another good fighter.
Fucking Yangus from...
You've just got all fighters.
No, I'm Vivi.
Yeah, I mean, that's a prerequisite. It should be a 3-man team and Vivi.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he is best arc.
I've gone Vivi, Yangus, Adia, and Frog. And the thing I've done here is Adia can fit any role because of the job system.
Yeah, but Chris, I'm gonna numbers you on this one. Her stats are very much presented for her to be
a sword. Yeah. True. Well, at the same time, I'm gonna levy you. That's the way this works.
She's gonna punch you a lot.
Well, this is the thing. I can't. Do you ever like? I tend to engage with a character in a JRPG normally by how effective they are at first.
Really?
Yeah, because normally when they introduce like the healer, they're just a big fucking drip. They're just like,
I love the healer in the summoner healer in Bravely Default. I can't remember her name now. Say I loved her, obviously didn't.
Oh, I know what you
Agnes.
mean. Agnes.
Yeah, I like.
See, Agnes was cool, but I tend to gravitate more towards I want to get through a fight as quick as I can. So having Adia go in and smack someone 37 times in a row and then have that followed up by a man with a conker on his head is like, you can't really top that.
No, that is true.
I think they're just literally, my thing was just characters I liked.
Yeah.
Like, the only think about it, the other character that I was thinking of bringing in was, I can't remember her name. She's the blonde archer from Eternal Sonata. Do you know what I mean?
Jazz,
got like
Jazz
was the bloke with the trombone and the weird punch on halfway through for beating women. There's just this one bit like, okay, we're just fucking backhands a woman and you don't know why. It's like, But it was kind of that thing where I just picked characters I liked, mainly.
Alright, if we're just picking characters we like then. I mean, I was thinking of Frog.
But put Frog in!
I'm not putting Frog in, because you've put him in, and I don't want to.
But by that logic, you can't have Vivi.
I'm having Vivi. I'm having Vivi as best boy. Vivi is definitely best boy.
He's what a best boy should aspire to be.
Exactly. I've already told Elliot that if he is not a little black mage by the time he's 10 years old, and he's not as sweet as Vivi, he's out his ass. Joking. Never do that to him. But, yeah.
I love the idea of you dressing him as Vivi now. Like, Mrs. comes in and just goes, "Why is Elliot painted black? Why is he wearing a big blue coat?" And you're just like, "Shut up, I need this."
But it's really funny because...
Why are you dressed as a cat? Shut up!
I've got the Final Fantasy IX theme on my PlayStation, and every time it comes on, the bottom bit of the thing is like Vivi in various poses. And Elliot goes, "He's a good boy, him, Daddy. He's a very good boy." I went, "He's best boy, son." So now whenever he puts it on, and Becky's just sat with him, he just goes, "He's the best boy, Mummy." It's like, you're damn right he's the best boy. You're damn right. But,
that's awesome.
Well, Vivi for definite. I really like...
Go on then, you've got Vivi.
I got Vivi. So fucking difficult. It is so fucking difficult. I mean, there's Chie.
Yeah. Because she's going to kick you.
No, Vivi, for definite. I do like Chie an awful lot. She's a very, very good character. Very well fleshed out. And very fun. You know what I mean?
She was one of the more interesting characters in the end. They kind of took the piss out of her a bit as well when she got, the glasses with the moustache on and stuff. And
and, she can kick a tank into space.
I can do that, though.
I suppose so.
Done it once.
I think after that it all gets a bit muddy because there's so many good characters out there that absolutely there are people who probably scream at your choices and say, "Why have you not included this person?" And it's believe me, they were probably on the list at some point.
Yeah, it's I could put together a roster of characters that you could build a party from in a game. If you give me a choice of 7 or 8, that would probably have been much more well thought out, but 4 was just a bit brutal.
I think the next one would probably be... I really liked Lloyd in Tales of Symphonia.
Yeah.
He was very, very good.
He was on my list at one point.
He was a good boy. Not the best boy, but still a good boy. And finally... it's very fucking difficult. Not
Neko.
Not Neko.
Never Neko.
Never him. Miserable cunt. No, she used to hang around with the big bruiser guy with the skull jumper.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. She had a really, really sad character arc as well.
Yeah, what was it? Well done, characters. This is what I mean. It's you play so many JRPGs, and so many of these characters come in and out of what
they blend into one as well when you think about it, because so many of them fill into one sort of type.
Yeah, they do, and I mean that is something that JRPGs that bad JRPGs do all the time. They have these character archetypes. They don't build on them,
and they just become cookie cutter.
Well, yeah, they just become. This is the love interest you've been friends with her since you were children. This is the best friend. He's a bit of a dick, but he's got a heart of gold.
This is the mentor who will possibly betray you in a tedious inevitability.
Exactly. And there she is. What's her name? Rhyme.
Oh yeah, because they're beaten Rhyme.
Yeah, beaten Rhyme. Rhyme is a very, very, very good character.
Okay. Well, they're re-releasing that as well.
I know, I'll definitely be picking that up day one.
Okay. Right, so we've talked about who would be our best team. Slightly easier.
It's not. Who
would be your shit tier team?
Shit tier team, right. We'll start in with Waka. Man is a prick. And a racist prick at that. So he deserves to fucking get in there.
Yeah.
With his silly fucking accent and his
That's a bit racist in
No,
its
it's
own
not.
way.
It's like, how can you be racist against fucking guy who just has a weird accent for no reason because no one else in the island's got that accent?
That's
Lulu's
true. No one,
apparently from that island.
no one else sounds like a... It's always you, Nick. No one else on the island sounds like a complete bellend.
Yeah, so there you go. He's just
Because he's ginger.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Zell from Final Fantasy VIII. Cannot stand that tattoo face prick. Anyone with that tattoo on their face is a knobhead.
Did you ever watch Cypher just... That bit where he stands up and scores up to Cypher?
Yeah,
just want Cypher just to stab him in the chest.
There was a time, like, there's that one bit where, like, Cypher calls him a chicken, and he, like, stamps his foot, and it's like, every time he did one of those silly fucking animations, I just was like, nah, not in my party. I will not have this consummate bellend ruin anything for me.
Go on then.
After him, there is fucking... No, we can't include social link characters, can we?
I suppose you can.
Maybe he's not part of a party.
Ah, true.
But honourable mention to that knobhead from Persona 3 who's your classmate who wants to bed the teacher.
Oh, Christ, yeah.
Yeah, hated him. Fucking hated him.
Called Kenji or
something like that.
Yeah.
Amarant from Final Fantasy 9 because he's just a non-character. He hasn't got an arc at all. He's just
there.
He's just there. And to some extent, then probably fucking Kamari, but I don't know. But
yours are all Final Fantasy characters.
Yeah, because Final Fantasy do like both like some really fucking good characters and some really fucking bad ones.
I think Irvine's pretty bad. Because I remember when they started announcing Final Fantasy VIII, and everyone I knew was like, "How fucking cool is Irvine? He's got a shotgun and a trench coat." Because it was the early 2000s, and that was what you wanted, apparently.
Then Columbine happened, and no one wanted it.
Yeah, and all of a sudden Irvine wasn't so popular anymore. Fucking Marilyn Manson fan that he was. No, alright. Do you want to know what my shit T team is?
Yeah.
Ryuji from Persona 5. Praise. Fuck him.
Yeah.
Maru Maro from Blue Dragon. Fuck him and all he stands for. And bad. In the sequel games on the DSs, you had to play as his brothers and sisters. There was a point where you were him and like 4 mini versions of him. Fuck that. Polka from Eternal Sonata is my honourable mention. She's annoying. You squeaky, drippy, annoying cow of a child.
Crying constantly for no reason.
But my last 2 members of my party are a double act from one game.
Is it the kids from...
It's Mac and Cook from Lost Odyssey.
See,
because that is the only time playing a game where I thought, those kids are in peril. I couldn't give a fuck. You know what I mean? It's like there's a bit where one of the objectives on that game at one point was save Mac and Cook, and it was the first time I stopped playing it because I just went, why?
No.
Absolutely not.
Now, actually thinking about it then.
Because this is the thing, I was sat there going, Kaim and Sarah as characters in that, selfish as fuck. You're immortal. You've just introduced yourselves to your grandkids. Your grandkids who are going to surpass you in physical age in a blink of an eye to you, and you're going to be fine with it. You evil bastards bringing them on this journey, and then not having the common decency to not raise a pair of little shits. Fuck you. It's like...
Yeah, think about it. Like, Lost Odyssey has that really weird thing where it's like, you meet Kaim, you meet his wife, and... Like, they have these kids, but there is no...
They're his grandkids.
Are they his grandkids?
Yeah,
his kids.
No, they're his grandkids. Mac and Cook are their daughter, Sarah and Kaim's daughter's kids. Because there's that bit where they have to bury their mum. Because the only reason...
the one with the glasses? Like the one with the big boobs and the glasses?
That was
Kaim's wife, wasn't it?
No, that was the Queen woman who was the other immortal who couldn't remember shit.
Yeah, because there's that fucking guy. Yeah, actually, can I swap one around and put Jensen in my shit team? I fucking hated him.
That game was so bad.
It wasn't. Right near
the end though, when you had the pirate woman who was wearing like the weird yellow dress, and then her son's in it, and he's a fucking weird little old man. Yeah. You're like,
no, I loved that game. I loved Lost Odyssey.
I remember it being better than it was, and then I tried going back to it, but it's like, granted, the 360 got rinsed on the JRPG. They had Eternal Sonata and Lost Odyssey. Everything else was an exclusive on it. Do you remember playing Infinite Undiscovery?
I remember having it for about 5 hours and going, nah.
Nah, exactly.
Do you remember, what's it called? Fucking Enchanted Arms?
God damn that game.
an enchanted arm. It was, that was pretty fucking terrible.
That was like, do you know what that was? That was like, to
actually,
me,
that
that
was
was...
from Enchanted Arms is in my list. The guy with the enchanted arm.
That game, to me, I looked at that as like the PS3 and the 360. I was going, ooh, next gen. Look how nice it is. Look how great it is. Look how amazing the game's going to be. Here's Enchanted Arms. To me, that was like the PS2 launch. They went, oh, we're so good. This is the bouncer. And it was, you know what I mean? It's the same equivalent. It's like this game, everyone went, so fucking hyped for this big slice of Japanese. What the fuck is this?
I remember getting Enchanted. I remember it was the first game I pre-ordered on Play.com. And it came like 2 days before it came out. And I was there going like, this is going to be amazing. I'm getting the drop on everyone on this. And it's like, turns out I was the only person who pre-ordered it. And second of all,
there's a reason why.
Yeah, that's the reason why. Because you look at the only thing I remember about that game, kid's got an enchanted arm and he likes hot dogs. That's about it.
Summons stuff. It was like,
doesn't even summon things, punches things. It's not even.
It's like it's
fun.
a grid-based combat system as well, isn't it?
It's so bad.
Do you think that's the problem? This is the problem with a JRPG. Bad ones are a lesson in pain and embarrassment because you have to sit there going, I fucking bought that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what were the other really shit ones?
Oh, there's loads of them.
There was loads of really... no, right, hang on. I want to change one of the entries in my party because it's just dawned on me who I've missed. Possibly only second to Vivi in best boy terms. I want to swap out the deer for a Prinny.
Oh, the little penguin dudes.
Penguins.
Biscaya.
Because they're an infinite resource, psychotic, and they're willing to kill for you. I will swap out a deer for just Prinnies in general. Or, to be honest, you could probably put any Disgaea character in, because they're all
Disgaea is really fun. Disgaea is Disgaea, like, they're kind of the exception to the rule of where they've got these, like, really archetypal characters. It's because
they're a parody of JRPGs as well.
Yeah.
They do things like going, there's things where it goes like, right, you've gone through 100 levels of a dungeon, he's a gold coin, hope you like grinding, lol. Yeah. And you're like, fuck.
Well, I mean, I've never finished the Disgaea game, because
I'm shit at them.
Well, I wouldn't even say I'm shit at them, it's just I don't have a million hours, like literally a million hours, but I wanted to change.
This will be the thing, these lists will change the more JRPGs we remember.
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking about bad JRPGs, Orphan on the PS2, that was really bad. That was like one of the first ones on the PS2.
It's a game that we have heaped much scorn upon.
What?
Rogue Galaxy.
Oh, fucking... You want to talk about creepy games? Look at the Consolevania review of Rogue Galaxy. Ryan does pretty much just calls the entire cast out for being pedos. He's not wrong. He's not fucking wrong.
It's bloody awful. It's that thing is, it can't be as hated as we hate, as much widely as we hate, because you and me both fucking detested that game.
I wanted to love it so much because it was level 5 and it was the next thing. It was the thing they did after Dragon Quest VIII, and I was like, this has to be good. Like, Dragon Quest VIII was too good for the next game to not be good.
It was Star Ocean levels of pish.
Fucking... Like, oh, God, don't get me started on Star Ocean. Jesus.
There was a lot of weird NIS ones that they did as well. It's like, because it was called Trinity Soul.
Trinity Soul, Knights of Azure.
That
loads of...
What was that one called where it was all about having different generations of your family with different...
Oh,
and it was
Alvarez.
Yeah, and it was basically... It was a tick game. It was all about fight. It was all about going, oh, that healer over there, she's got good stats.
And by stats you mean tits.
Yeah, and it's like, my character is now going to heap gifts upon it until she has my child. What?
Yeah, Argress was bad. I got that because it had
As a day?
No, I got that because the special edition was the same price as the regular edition, and it came with like an art book and a soundtrack CD. I looked in the art book, and I was very, very surprised that this was indeed a tick game. because I didn't realise it was. It turned out to be one.
Yeah, there was the PS3 was like,
Well,
for PS3 and 360 was a glorious era in console gaming, but at the same time, bits of it were a bit fucking odd. It was all like, there was that sort of stuff. There was another one that was really bad, and I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head.
Plenty of them. Plenty of really bad JRPGs out there. I mean...
It's what I borrowed it from work when they let us rent games from Game. And I must have played it for 2 hours, probably tops. We played it. It was like, we had like...
Was it the one with all the guns in it? Resonance of Fate?
No, it wasn't Resonance of Fate.
If I remember right, that wasn't actually that bad.
No.
It was just hard.
It'll be on my trophy list.
I mean, there's fucking... What's it called as well? I mean... White Knight Chronicles is another one that's just generic as fuck.
White Knight Chronicles was fucking generic. They had this awesome combat mechanic that you could only use at certain points because it took so long to recharge having the knight. And it was like you could put together like your combos and stuff.
Yeah.
So the combat system was quite interesting. And it had this weird sort of like suit. It was a high fantasy Gundam story. Cause,
that's something, yeah.
But it was, the problem I had with it was it took too fucking long to do anything, and you spent ages running around a dungeon waiting for things to recharge so you could go into a boss fight and have the knight, because without it you were so underpowered.
Yeah.
And it was just bad in that regard.
It's a really difficult question with bad JRPG characters. I think the reason the majority of mine are from Final Fantasy is because those games have some real high points, but when they get it wrong, they get it really fucking wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll agree on that.
Yeah. I mean, Final Fantasy X, I mean, Tidus is a fucking shite character. Vaan is a shite character.
I'm gonna find it.
Balthier is arguably the only good character in Final Fantasy XII. And that's only because he's Han Solo.
That's true. He is Han Solo. I'm going to find that fucking game if it kills me now. I'm going back through my trophy list. I played White Knight Chronicles 2. That's how much
White Knight Chronicles 1 came with that.
Yeah. It was the game where you got both of them together for the price of one.
No, I think like one of the greatest crimes that JRPGs can kind of do is just be completely forgettable. Because if you really want to hold someone's attention for like 90 hours,
yeah, exactly.
You've got to be really fucking good and really invest in those characters.
Yeah. Trinity Universe was one of them, which we've talked about being complete shit.
That was the grid-based one, wasn't it?
No, that was the one that was like Cross Edge. That was the other one.
Oh,
Bloody hellfire! That was bad. I've not actually got any of the trophies for that.
That's because like trophies for JRPGs, or especially like those niche ones, was like kill 1 million things, get to the max level with every character, and I don't know, get this super secret ending that no one gives a fuck about.
Exceed a 50-hit combo thing called the Juggler.
Exceed. Do you remember Exceed?
Yeah.
That was bad.
This says Exceed.
Was Exceed a developer? No, sorry. No.
Exceed 10,000 points of total damage. You got a trophy for that called the Badass. There was the Skywalker, which was reach 300 Agi. The Meat Shield reached 300 Vit. The Juicer reached 300 Stalker, unlock all the character profiles. The God of Death, defeat 3,000 enemy units. These are all very, like... It was just so fucking boring and generic and It literally had about 15 tutorials for all the mechanics all at once for the combat system, and you were just like, no, I'm done with this.
Yeah, there's been a few like that. I mean, Xenoblade does that, and it's arguably my least favourite thing about it is that game is so dense sometimes that it makes it really difficult to enjoy yourself, I think. Or it does in the beginning. But then again, JRPGs are known for being very slow starters.
Yeah.
I mean, Persona 5 start is 5 hours of just nonsense.
Well, while we're talking on, while we're complaining about JRPGs, which is your most hated JRPG? I'm not going to count things like Trinity Universe and Cross Edge because I know nothing of those. I don't remember them at all.
That's like saying what's...
Is yours Enchanted Arms? Is it Enchanted Arms?
Again, I'd probably put that in that category because it was like, I can't tell you anything that actually happened in that game. Like I said, other than the guy had an enchanted arm and you like hot dogs. That were about it. And it's just so fucking forgettable. I think if we're talking about a JRPG that I've put a significant amount of time in that I absolutely cannot stand, it's Final Fantasy XII. And it's just because you have Ivalice, which is such an interesting world. I mean, Vagrant Story set in that world. Final Fantasy Tactics is set in that world. It's a really good world, like a really great world, but it just felt so soulless, and none of the characters were interesting. Like I said, like before, Balthea is like arguably the only character in that game. Like someone with any bit of character to him. Everyone else is just some kind of archetype that...
He looks like an NPC though.
Yeah, everyone looks like an NPC in that game. And the design choices in the... Like I said, the battle system is a fucking slog. You get to a certain point in that game, and... I mean, granted, the Gambit system, which is the way you kind of told people what... Like, kind of set up their...
orders, the ways of fighting and stuff, wasn't it?
That was quite interesting, but that just became a chore in the end. And everything about that game was so laboured. And I can remember getting that game home, like the day that it came out, and me texting you going, check this game out, it's fucking tasty. And I think, what the fuck was wrong with me? What was I playing?
You and me, when we both played that game, we were both like, oh my god. But I think we got caught up in that it's a new Final Fantasy.
Yeah, and that happens every time.
Same thing that happened with 13, same thing that happened with 15. Because 15, we went into going...
I still like 15.
But you listen back to us. When we first played, we were going, holy shit, what a game. When we both finished it, we both sat there going, objectively, gameplay-wise, so much fun, but it's a fucking mess.
I know, but Final Fantasy XII doesn't even have that fun element to it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Final Fantasy 13, I like more than most people like it. I can excuse a lot in that game because I think that the characters go on interesting arcs in it. Granted, there's very weird things going on in that game, but it's nowhere near as bad, nowhere near as a cardinal sin as 12 is, because 12's plot is Star Wars. That's it.
I never liked 13 because I thought most of the characters looked like alt costumes for Tekken characters.
Yeah,
like Snow and Fang and stuff. And I just never really...
I even forgot that Fang existed.
Yeah, I never really took with that game, to be honest.
Actually, can I update my list of terrible characters?
Go on.
Hope.
Oh,
Hope's going in there.
Fuck that clown.
Can I update my list of favourite characters?
Go on.
Mickey Mouse.
Shit, Kingdom Hearts!
Yeah, Mickey fucking Mouse. When he turns up and, like, levers
everything,
it's like, holy shit, Mickey can throw down!
Oh, we're getting that this year, apparently.
Hopefully.
There's a Toy Story world.
That's going to be good.
There's a fucking Toy Story world in it, man.
Hopefully Woody will be the playable one, not Buzz Lightyear.
I think it is Woody.
That's going to be fun.
To be honest, I'd love it if it was both.
And it's Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks actually voiced him.
My most hated JRPG is...
Can I take a guess?
Go on.
Is it one of the Dragon Quest games?
It's not.
Is it Inazuma 11? It's Inazuma 11.
It's not Inazuma 11.
Not Inazuma 11. That's fucking...
That's
football
Pez.
One. That's Pez.
No, it's not. Inazuma 11's an entirely different ball game.
No, I'm thinking... No,
Inazuma 11's a frigging...
Yeah, that's the That's the football fucking...
RPG, yeah.
No, I'm thinking because Pez in Japan is called Winning 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're thinking of...
Yeah.
No, my JRPG that, try as I might, and I like the characters, but I think it might just be because of what it is. I couldn't really get... It took me 2 goals to get through it, which pissed me off. Actually, no.
Is it Bravely Second?
No, it's not Bravely Second. I was gonna say it's Tales of Symphonia because I really struggled to get through that
I
game.
love that game. That's the only Tales game that I've finished. Done absolutely everything in.
No, I did Tales of Eternia on the PSP.
I was fucking out that one.
And I did Tales of the Abyss on the 3DS.
I did Vesperia, but not everything, just the main story. Vesperia is a good one. Yuri Law was a good character, actually. Yuri, the main character, because he was more of an anti-hero kind of thing. Because he was really affable, and then there was that dark side to him where it's no, I'm just gonna kill this guy. But yeah.
Yeah, the only thing we've got left to cover is our favourite JRPG.
Our favourite?
Yeah, what's our favourite JRPG, and is it Chrono Trigger?
No. I like Chrono Trigger a lot.
Well, this is my point. I wrote down Chrono Trigger. Is it objectively the best JRPG, or is that simply an opinion maintained by wanks?
I don't think it's an opinion maintained by wanks.
It tops so many JRPG lists.
I think you've got to look at it in terms of what it is, and
it's
the fact that you've got
incredible, but it's not my favourite JRPG.
No, it's not mine, but it's the fact that you can do a lot in that game, and it takes that JRPG formula, and you can do it in loads of different ways.
You know, we were saying before how JRPGs tend to take a science fiction element and a fantasy element and combine them as well.
Yeah.
That does it in such a fucking cool way, because it just goes, here's your world map. Here's your world map in 4 or 5 different states.
Yeah.
Based on when you are and where you are.
It's an incredible game. For the time it came out, it's unbelievable.
It's been 30 years old, isn't it?
Yeah. I wish I was playing JRPGs when that came out, and I probably would feel the same way. I'd probably think it was my favourite game, or my favourite JRPG, but it's not. I think if I have to be brutally honest with myself, favourite JRPG... Right. How about we leave that to part 2?
What else are we going to talk about in part 2? Or is that just it? It's just us sat there going,
what's the best?
We can't both love Persona 4 that much, can we? Is that what it is? Is it Persona 4?
You'll have to tune in next time
to find out. But it is. It's Persona 4. We're gonna do. Is it? Hang on. Well, yeah. Do we need to do a part 2, or is it Persona 4?
Mine isn't Persona 4.
Is it Final Fantasy 7?
No.
Is it Final Fantasy 9?
Maybe.
It's Final Fantasy 9, isn't it?
Maybe.
We've done this proper fucking... It's Final Fantasy 9 because it's VV and it's awesome.
Well, not just VV, but there's a lot in Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 9 is that perfect cross-section of traditional and what was kind of new at the time, and it really understood how to build a world and how to build characters. And it's kind of the last time in my memory that Final Fantasy was really, really paid attention to its characters and didn't just do this thing like Final Fantasy X does. It really fucking annoys me where it goes, Tidus loves Yuna, Yuna loves Tidus, and then smushes them together, just puts them in a party together, and it's that's it. It's they're in love, and it's it doesn't give them any reason for that to be the case. Whereas Final Fantasy IX, you get this really amazing arc between Zidane and Garnet, and it's it sets up it's just a really well written. That's a really well written love story. Vivi's got an amazing arc that, when I was a kid, I really identified a lot with. Not being a black mage that could fire spells from my hands, that would have been the shit. But no, it wasn't that. It was just that kind of, if you believe in yourself, if you believe in yourself and you, really are confident, get that little bit of confidence, you can do really amazing things. And it's that was a really big message for me at the time.
When you were a teenager as well, did the idea of your authoritarian character like Steiner being a complete bellend,
I loved Steiner.
Did that not resonate as well?
No, I loved him.
See, people in charge shouldn't always necessarily be in charge.
I loved Steiner. I loved Steiner because, again, he was a character that, went on a really good journey. He was this really self-important joke of a knight who no one took seriously other than himself. And kind of learned that, he just kind of mellowed. And he kind of learned that you can joke, and it isn't about being an authoritarian figure for people, and, you get people to rely on you because you're friends with them, and that's kind of
Yeah.
It's just a lovely story, and the world it's in is so beautifully realised. And again, it's got a really great twist in it that is very Bloodborne-y, which I love.
So
It's all
this is the
aliens.
So, like, yours is Final Fantasy IX.
Yeah.
And mine, pretty true to form, is a Dragon Quest game.
I thought yours was Persona 4.
No, I thought yours was going to be Persona 4. That's what
I
I'm
love
getting at.
Persona 4, but it's
Persona 4 is amazing, but it is... Persona 4 is amazing. I love that game. I'll defend that game to the death against anybody. But at the same time, if I have to pull either that or Dragon Quest 9 out of a fire, Dragon Quest is coming with me.
Yeah.
Because, fucking hell, I love that game. I've got a Japanese version of it and a UK version of it. And the Japanese version of it, gibberish. It's Japanese.
I loved it.
Japanese, it's probably one of my, like... I used to have a huge games collection. It was like a floor-to-ceiling bookcase, and it was full. And I sold pretty much all of it when I moved out with my mum and dad's. But the things I kept were all the Dragon Quest games and all the Final Fantasies. That was the core bit that I kept, because they were just they were like the backbone of everything gaming-wise that I love. And Dragon Quest 9 was the proper sort of like culmination of everything I really liked about JRPGs.
Yeah.
And it was portable. And it was
that's a big help. I mean,
I loved that game so much. Like, 8 is incredible. 7 is incredible. So 6, 5, and 4. But 9 is the best one. 9's the one I'm on about.
No, I'm joking. It's like, yeah.
9 is my favourite JRPG, and I mean, the only thing that could possibly unseat it, depending on how good it is going to be 11 when it comes out on the Switch.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I think could do it.
That's the thing now. Like, I mean, we love JRPGs, but like we were saying in the last episode, it's getting to a point where we've got a lot of other things going on, and they're very demanding games. Like, they demand that you put a lot of time into them, and I think if the Switch does if the Switch gets half the things I'm hoping it's getting, or that it will get, it's perfect for JRPGs.
Let's get in a remake of World Ends With You, which
That's
hyper shit about.
I'm very...
Lost Sphere's out on it in a week and a half.
Yeah.
We're getting a Dragon Quest on it. Octopath Traveler's coming out on it, and that demo alone sold that game.
Yeah,
that demo doesn't even show any interplay between the party characters, potentially. It's like, the scope for that game is insane, and I imagine that once they've done this, they're going to do a Bravely game on it, and you're going to get other JRPGs on it. It's perfect for a Tales game.
I would like to see the next Tales game on that.
I think it's going to be on it. I think we're probably going to get a remake and re-release of Tales of Heart, which never came out over here, but it was a DS one. And
Tales of Hearts?
Yeah.
There's a Vita version. Tales of Hearts are.
It was on the Vita, so no fucker played it.
No.
It's a bit...
No. I mean, the Vita and the PSP is another reason why I kind of kept playing the Final Fantasy games, or kept playing the old ones anyways, because I could play them portably. I didn't have to sit in front of my TV and just put them on my PSP or on my Vita or whatever and take them with me wherever I go, and they're perfect for that. They're great.
I remember when we all got Final Fantasy 4 on the DS, and we just sat around eating pizza and drinking beer and playing Final Fantasy.
Yeah. Final Fantasy 3, that Final Fantasy 3 remake was the reason I got the DS. Because I never played 3. I never had the opportunity to play it.
We all played that in the exact same situation the year before 4.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to love. There's a lot to love in JRPGs, and a lot to dislike. And I mean, there's probably a lot more shitty JRPGs than there are great ones, but when they get them right, they
like we said, they occupy a space when you get one that you like and you really gravitate towards it. They are like having a favourite book or a favourite film. They sit in that bit where they kind of ingrained into a part of your actual like media love kind of thing. They sit there like, you go, I've got my favourite books, I've got my favourite films, I've got my favourite music, I've got my favourite games. And your favourite games, the ones that you really, really like tend to be the ones that, like, even for how fucking flawed they are in places, definitely. You will just kind of cling to them. Because, I mean, we've already said it, JRPGs are not without they're massive endemic problems.
Oh yeah, there's a lot wrong with them.
But to fix a lot of those, you need a complete fucking cultural shift where they're from.
I mean, whether it is cultural, I mean, I don't know.
Well, it's almost,
I think you get creepy weirdos all over the world.
Yeah, but I don't know if you get as much of the creepy weird shit creep into the media of that bit of the world. You know what I mean? Like, manga and anime and gaming tends to somehow get a free pass on a lot of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like,
I see what you mean.
to fix that needs something to happen somewhere that's completely beyond your control.
Yeah.
So it's like, you almost have to be able to get round that bit. Because, I mean, the other thing is as well, those bits get round a PEGI and certification rating here.
Yeah, but...
Do you know what I mean? Like,
but, I mean, I think at its worst, I mean, at its best, it's embarrassing. At its worst, it's really fucking creepy. But it's like, it's all how you kind of deal with it. I mean, I think of it like this. If you like cringe humour, you can get around it. Because that's what a lot of it is.
It's like
just
Alan
really
Partridge from JRPG.
Yeah, it's just like that bit where he popped out of his shorts in Alan Partridge. It's just smutty. But then, yeah, there's the creepier ones. But
right, hang on.
It's not.
Here's a question. Is it the game itself that's the creepy bit? Or is it all the people online going, ooh, look at this?
I don't interact with those people, so...
Neither do I, but...
It doesn't really... But that side of it, like, the community around JRPGs and stuff like that, like... I think that's another reason why I like single-player JRPGs. I don't have to be part of a community to play them.
There was some very sarcastic air quotes done then, people.
I fucking hate that where it's like the community for a game. It's like, yeah, it's great that you've got all these people that like playing a game, but for fuck's sake, I don't want to interact with people. The whole reason I'm playing this game is because I don't want to interact with people.
True.
I mean, that's an entirely different point. But, yeah.
Is this going to be... This might tie into one of my plans for this year, is when E3's on, we actually play and film the E3 drinking game. And the E3 drinking game is now going to have, every time someone talks about the community around a game, we take a drink. This is up there with every time someone refers to a game as an experience, or says the word experiences, take a drink.
We can do that.
Will me and Alex die live on a podcast?
I definitely will. No,
I've got the bottle of Jack ready to do this.
I'm up for it.
I think I'm joking. There's a bottle of Jack in that fridge.
I don't know. I think like the JRPG community. I don't think there really is one.
No, I think it's a series of different fandoms that all interconnect.
Yeah, and I think you've got like the people who only like Final Fantasy, and you've got the people who only like fucking. Well, no, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I think people have. I think you get people who are into it in a varying way. And, like, you get people who are really into JRPGs in general and will pick up every NIS game that has come out and, you know, have their favourite characters are always these, like, really unheard of, unsung... Their favourite games are always these really unheard of, unsung JRPGs that, like, they only ever get, like, 1 or 2 copies in a shop of, if that.
Like that Lunar Saga thing that I used to have on the DS.
Yeah.
That was, like, rocking all shit trying to find another one.
Yeah, and it's like, you get those people, and I don't think that there's this... It's the same thing with anime and people who just generally like Japanese things. There's this really kind of weird perception by people who don't like it that they're somehow strange and creepy and weird. And it's like, not everyone
in that sphere is like that.
And it's like, I think it's a minority who, especially... You know, I think it's definitely a minority of characters.
It's a very loud minority, isn't it, within that kind of anime and Japanese kind of fans. Because, like, I follow a lot of people on Twitter who are big into the Japanese stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not a case of... None of them claim to be a fucking expert on it. No. None of them claim that they understand it all. They're just, like, a casual... fan of Japanese stuff.
Yeah, and it's like but there's a lot of ways to engage with it. You can like the design of it, you can like the stories that they tell, you can like the music, that kind of thing. Like, it's all different to what we generally have over here, but it's like, I don't know, I think when it comes back to that kind of thing of, is it the games that are creepy or is it the people that are creepy? I think a lot of those people wouldn't be playing the JRPGs or Japanese games or like Japanese things if it didn't have that creepy stuff in it. I think there's a lot of them out there who are like that, but I don't think that's by any means everyone. And I think a lot of people just kind of tolerate it because that's kind of wedged in amongst a lot of stuff that they like.
You have to see that for the horrible bit that you can completely ignore for the sake of everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not right necessarily,
but it's that thing. It's like, do you throw the baby out with the bathwater and just go, I can't like this because... And it's like, yeah, that you could do that, but there's a lot of other stuff in there that isn't connected to it at all that you can like. And same with the tit game stuff. It's like, you know, I really, really love the art direction in a lot of these games. They're just so colourful and just so vibrant, and the characters are all, whether they're shit or good, there's a lot of memorable JRPG characters out there. And I was saying to you the other day, like, I find myself now, a game, my opinion of a game lives and dies by if I like the characters in it or not. And, you know,
it's like,
so what? One of them's got the tits out.
Some games get to be honest, I think something like Blue Dragon got a bit of a free pass on the art front because we all went sweet Toriyama art.
Yeah,
and the fact that one of the creatures was a poo snake.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It was a snake called up that looked like a turd, people.
And the villain's name was Nene, wasn't it?
And he wasn't actually a villain if you played the sequels.
Well, no, because it wasn't him, it was his little sugar puff mate that was manipulating him.
Nemesis, or whatever it was called, on his shoulder. Yeah, because you find out in the sequel on the 3DS, not 3DS, on the regular DS, that he was trying to save the rest of his people who were all frozen in the big spaceship thing he was in.
Yeah.
The big thing that looked like the capsule ships. He was in one of them, there was loads of people frozen, and one of them was his wife. And I'm pretty sure that the villain had defrosted his wife, and the only reason Nene was doing what he was doing was so they'd refreeze her until he could find a way to defrost her safely. And it was all really fucked up, because he ends up with his own shadow and all sorts of stuff. It gets really weird.
Right. Yeah, I think even if like people listen to this and they've never played a JRPG before, I think that's probably not the case, and they want to get into them, there's a lot to love. If you just find the right one for you, like, that's it then. You'll be willing to give almost anything a shot because it's such a surprise with how effective those games can be. And it is pretty much down to the fact that they know how to write, or like good ones know how to write amazing characters and make you care about what happens to them in it.
Yeah.
Which is why I primarily like them and why I'm not too arsed about tits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we covered everything in an episode, man.
Yeah. I wanted this to be a multi-part. I wanted this to be our fucking...
Our empire. It was like...
This was going to be our empire.
Well, what we can do is we can ask people... We could do the full gamut of not just JRPGs, of RPGs. We could talk about shitty Western RPGs.
Oh, we've got stories.
We got Tales. Tales of worlds other than these. 2 worlds, in fact. Maybe even 2 worlds too.
Alpha Protocol, that was pretty fucking bad, but good at the same time.
Alpha Protocol was incredible just because it was like... do you know what Alpha Protocol was? It was the fucking room of video games. It had no business existing. It was overly ambitious. It was dog shit, but my God, you loved it. It was the thing. It was... No, we can't do a JRPG. We can't do a...
We could easily do a Western RPG.
Could do, but would you fucking want to?
I wouldn't mind.
Because it would literally just be us.
I'd have to play more of them.
Yeah, exactly. It would just be us going on about how good Knights of the Old Republic was for an hour. And everybody knows that already.
How Oblivion's the best one and you all fucking know it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like...
Yeah. Fallout 3, low-key shit. It was like... Fallout 4. Stop deluding yourselves, people. It's crap. So Skyrim.
What?
Todd Howard needs locking in a bunker, so he stops re-releasing that fucking thing.
It's not Doom. No one will think of it in the same way they think of Doom. When you say, oh, they've put Doom in a cash machine, it's like, that's cool. No one will ever say they've put Skyrim in a cash machine. That's fucking brilliant.
I once tried to shove a Skyrim disc in a cash machine in a Patrick Bateman fit of lunacy. Fuck that game, man.
I don't think it's quite that. It's just fucking dull. It's just dull. Anyway, let's not...
Yeah, let's not dwell on
I've got
those.
an entire, probably 2 hours to talk about that as well.
We will have a think, and hell, find us on Twitter at the Super Thundercast without the E in Super, and at Super Thundercast, and tell us what you want us to talk about on the next one. Maybe, just maybe, when we ask for questions, send us some fucking questions so we can do a proper podcast.
You're a good boy, Rick. You man up every time, and frankly, that question that you asked, like, had me going for a bit because I couldn't think of one.
You still couldn't. There's a really fucking awkward big chunk of umming and ahhing I'm going to have to cut out of this on the edit.
Goodbye, everyone.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
See you later.
See you later. Bye.